Yoshihiro Togashi is the man responsible for giving the world Hunter x Hunter. This series needs no introduction, and neither does its infamous hiatuses. I hold my hands up and say I used to make some jokes about the series, you know, hiatus x hiatus. Now in present day, there's still kind of two sides of the fence. There's the people that say, you know, leave Togashi alone, give him all the time he needs to recover, he needs to finish the series on his own terms. And there's kind of the other bunch of people that say, yo, this guy needs to get an artist to draw the manga for him. He cannot do it in his physical condition. He very well could pass away before Hunter x Hunter finishes, and nobody wants that. So join me in this deep analysis video as we go through some of his old interviews, and I hope to give you guys a new perspective onto the man, the myth, the legend, Yoshihiro Togashi. So Togashi is a professional mangaka. Mangaka is the Japanese term for somebody who makes manga, so basically the author and the artist. There are instances where this is kind of like a duo, but for the most part, most manga are written and drawn by one person. Author and artist are one. I've seen a lot of confusion and misinformation online about mangaka and what it is they do. Like, some people think they have zero assistance, some people think they do it all themselves. Like, you know, there's a lot of cool materials available online to get some more information about this if you're interested. My biggest recommendation would be the series Bakuman. So Bakuman is a manga about making manga for Shonen Jump. It's a very touching series. It details the manga's work schedule, the work environment, and it's just like such cool insight into the industry and all those things. Like, if you read weekly manga at the moment, I would highly recommend it. It's amazing, trust me. I'll also leave some links to professionals making manga in the description too. I think as fans of manga and anime, we kind of separate the story from the creator, like, because we're so invested in the characters that the story tells and, you know, the plot, all those type of things. We kind of forget that it's a real person making the story, you know. So yeah, again, in this video I'm gonna highlight a couple things that will kind of show you the realities of making manga and how it's similar to any other job. So when did this negativity attached to Yoshihiro Togashi start? Well, it started in the early 90s during the run of his first smash hit manga, Yuyu Hakusho. Now let's take a look at some lines of an interview he did soon after Yuyu Hakusho ended. Your thoughts on finishing Yuyu Hakusho? Ah, what a relief. What's the most painful thing that happened while you were writing Yuyu Hakusho? There were two instances. The first was when I was drawing color pages during Yusuke's fight with Chuin in the Dark Tournament, and my physical condition was really bad. The second time was around the time Yusuke was fighting Sensui, when I didn't want to draw manga anymore and I felt nauseous, just sitting down to draw. I asked the editorial office if I couldn't quit Yuyu Hakusho already for the first time at this point. The interviewer asks, if you ask me, all the villains from Elder Toguro and up were super cool. Togashi replies, around that time the protagonists had been developed completely and were no fun to write about, so the amount of emotion I put into the villains became much stronger. Your comment on receiving the Shogakukan Manga Award? Slam dunk should have gotten it. Lastly, what everyone is wondering, but what's your plan for the future? I want to draw manga that I can't show to anyone to amuse myself. So no professional manga from you? I have no plans for that, no. So that was the interview portion. I'll now read the afterword, titled On Finishing the Serialization of Yu Yu Hakusho, Looking Back on Failure. If I'm honest, I'm feeling a great relief and pleasure at the thought that I've finally been able to finish Yu Yu Hakusho. It's not that I've lost all emotional attachment to the work, but I feel that my stress levels had greatly surpassed my will to work. The 6 months leading up to the concluding chapter felt awfully long to me. To tell the truth, it had already been decided that Yu Yu Hakusho was going to end in December of '93. Or rather, this was a decision that I had forced on the editorial staff. There were many reasons for this, all in all about 50 big and small ones, but in broad strokes, these were the major reasons. 1. My body. 2. Thoughts I had about what it means to draw manga. 3. Desire to do other things than work. Point 3 is out of the question for a professional manga writer. Basically, I wanted to indulge my hobbies, rest and sleep as much as I could. Most of my 50 reasons fall into this category. Point 1 was caused by point 3 not being fulfilled for too long. From when Yu Yu Hakusho began serialization up until the start of the Dark Tournament, I had half a day off every week in which I caught up on sleep. Other than that, all I had time for were occasional naps, and I'd indulge in my hobbies by sleeping less. For a while, I quite enjoyed this, but my HP, as they say in RPGs, was gradually but surely failing, and around that time I wrote a 31-page one-shot and simultaneously had to do color pages. My heart began to hurt every time I went without sleep, and then it began to hurt more and more often. This was when I seriously started to think about the pace of production for manga. I thought I probably won't be able to keep regular hours, but if I sleep as much as I want to, when I want to, how much would I be able to produce? I tried it out. I immediately began to fall behind on my schedule, but I tried to get some sleep every night. Around this time, my feelings about writing manga as a profession began to change. I don't want to die from overwork. If I die, I want it to be when I'm having fun or when I'm drawing manga for fun. Color pages are scary, one-shots are scary. I also began to use some time before going to bed to relieve stress. I felt even more behind, and at this point where Sensui and Yusuke were fighting, this reached its first peak. But also around this time, I realized I was starting to experience a different kind of stress. Because I had stopped overworking my body and started to relieve my stress, I was feeling stressed that I couldn't draw manga in a way that satisfied me. This is where point 2 comes in. I believe that anyone who draws has a desire to attract people with their art, but this is an ambition that I had suppressed for a long time. This is because back when I had just started my debut, my editor at the time had shown me a manga page by Hagiwara Kazushi, Mangaka of Bastard. I felt that if I were honest with myself, my art would never be able to compete with something like this. But I was never able to throw away my ideal of being able to draw manga without help from other people. A few times during the run of Yu Yu Hakusho, I finished many manuscripts all by myself. All of these instances were when my stress levels were at their highest. I don't know if anyone will understand, but when I was stressed because I wasn't satisfied with my manga, the only way for me to relieve this stress was to draw all my manga by myself. As a result, those chapters ended up horrible. Both the characters and the backgrounds were messy. The one-shot, two-shots, Karasu vs Kurama, Yusuke vs Sensui, the scene where Yusuke meets Raizen, I drew most of those alone. The latter two were finished in half a day before my deadline. As a reader guessed and criticised in a letter, this might mean I failed as a professional, but I was satisfied. I had already started to think that no matter what anyone says, no matter how messy the finished pages are, I just wanted to draw this by myself, and I had no reason not to go through with it. It saddens me to say this, but I had explored every possible direction for the Yu Yu Hakusho characters that I could in the context of a professional publication. All I could do at this point was to start deconstructing the characters or go on repeating the same storylines over and over until the readers got bored. My attempts to deconstruct the characters were of course turned down by Jump. I didn't have the strength physically and mentally to keep doing the same thing over and over, so I went ahead and did what I had always wanted to do. If I ever managed to have a long serialization in Jump, I will end it on my own terms. I knew that Jump dropped a manga after 10 weeks if the readers' surveys proved it to be unpopular, and I knew this when I started working for them. This system proved encouraging for me, and I learned a lot by being aware of readers' reactions, but I ended up wanting to draw manga for myself, without thinking about anyone's reactions. I don't believe that anything I came up with on this premise will live up to Jump standards, so I will not try. In conclusion, I ended Yu Yu Hakusho because of my own selfishness. I'm sorry. So Yu Yu Hakusho ended in 94, so this was Togashi's thoughts around, late 94, mid 90s, and wow, like, look how he was feeling during the run of Yu Yu Hakusho. This is before Hunter x Hunter, guys. The stress was way too much for him, like, just being asked to draw color pages, he dreaded the thought of it. Like, I'm guessing this was before the chronic back pains, but oh my god, like, bro really didn't want to work on manga. Like, arguably I would say that he still writes Hunter x Hunter with a similar mindset to the one of Yu Yu Hakusho, and by that I mean he writes it for himself. He writes a really cool story that breaks the norm. He's not following traditional, well, he's not following super traditional lines of storytelling by Shonen Jump standards, and I feel like that's the reason a lot of people love Hunter x Hunter and gravitate towards it, because it's just so focused on the different type of nen battles, etc, etc. On some level I definitely respect him for, writing things the way he does. However, at the same time, he does call himself selfish, so yeah. So soon after Hakusho ended, Togashi did a short rom-com manga called Level E, and then of course after that he did Hunter x Hunter. So why would he do Hunter x Hunter, given everything we know about his feelings on writing manga and the stress and all this stuff during Yu Yu Hakusho days? Well, I'm pretty sure there's one obvious answer, and that is money. Yu Yu Hakusho was a big success, but I don't think that he could just live off that success, you know what I mean? Perhaps also he saw Hunter x Hunter as a way to redeem himself on Yu Yu Hakusho, like those negative feelings he had around the series. I mean, hell, he called it looking back on failure, his afterword about his smash hit, so clearly he thinks a lot about his series and cares a lot about them too. And the reason I say money as well is because once you start making manga, like, you're probably gonna keep doing that to the end of your career. For example, like, if you have a smash hit movie, like you're an actor, and then, I don't know, like you kind of hate acting, but you've just had this big hit movie and like you're kind of a star, like you wouldn't go to stacking shelves from that, or like work in an office or something. You'd keep making movies, right? And Togashi, as stressful as it is, Togashi clearly likes making manga, obviously, and he can make good manga, so there's no reason why he wouldn't start Hunter x Hunter. However, Of course, there's more reasons to the hiatuses than just stress now. It is chronic back pain. So Hunter x Hunter started off strong but became shaky in its second year of serialization. This only continued, and after 6 years of lots of hiatuses, that's when the long stretches of hiatus started. And the reason we are given for these long hiatuses is Togashi's chronic back pains, which have become increasingly worse over time. I remember during Hunter x Hunter's 2018 run when it was in Shonen Jump for a couple of weeks, the author comments were wild. Like, bro was talking about crawling to the bathroom and just being in so much pain. Like, I couldn't tell if he was trolling or not at first, but I was like, damn, he sounds really bad. Like, even recently he said, I'm sure you must be thinking, no, continue the story at once. I haven't been able to sit in a chair to draw for about 2 years, but I have managed to resume writing by abandoning the traditional way of doing things. Everyone, please watch your back. Until 2 weeks ago, before I wrote this, I was unable to wipe my butt and had to take a shower every time I pooped. Like, yeah, he was saying similar things in 2018 as well. Each movement takes me 3 to 5 times longer than a normal person. And then Togashi provided a doodle of him laying down to draw because he can't basically sit in a chair hunched over a desk no more. He just can't because of the back pains. Now, by any means, I don't think he's exaggerating, because why would you exaggerate something like this? Like, it sounds horrible. Like, he sounds in a really bad way. Like, you can't even use the bathroom properly. Like, he sounds terrible. Like, reading something like that, I'm picturing a frail old man that can't even look after himself. Like, he's not independent. And again, I am not saying that Togashi's being disingenuous about what he's saying. There are some conflicting reports about him being spotted at his favorite rock band's performances and stuff. Like, of course he can still get out and enjoy life a little. Like, I'm not saying he can't do that, and I think it's been quite a few years since he was spotted outside. But yeah, this is where the grey area lies, because Togashi has it sweet right now. He always comes back to Shonen Jump with just enough chapters to drop a new volume before he goes on hiatus again. So he comes back, gets a new volume out, he's gonna make money from that, and his work schedule be kinda nice. It'd be kinda nice. So think about it. Why would Togashi or any sane person return to full-time work with tight deadlines and pressures when you have the luxury of seemingly making manga on your own time? Because as much as mangaka love their job as it's their passion, they often complain about things like deadlines, being overworked, wanting time off. 19 pages a week is what Shonen Jump asks for, and that may sound easy if you're an artist, but it's a constant request. On top of that, the odd cover page, color spread, hardly any time off, so on and so forth. And this is the same for people in other unique professions too. Take pro wrestlers for example. They love their job, right, as it's their passion, but they're constantly traveling, they hardly see their families, they're always risking injury. Sometimes they're very tired and they may just not feel like wrestling one night. As dreamy as these jobs appear, essentially we all want the same things. When a mangaka is stressed, they probably won't feel energized to draw 19 pages in a week, when they're already behind on schedule, having to think weeks ahead about story points, etc, etc. It's tough, and so many mangaka quote unquote burn out from the job. Some write themselves into a corner, unintentionally create plot holes, and hell, even straight up forget about characters. And you already know I'm about to plug the GOAT. This is why we praise Oda. It's level playing field in Shonen Jump. Eiichiro Oda, creator of One Piece, he has the same 24 hours in a day just like everyone else. And look how consistent his storytelling is. He has tight deadlines and basically competes against other mangaka in the magazine. He makes other mangaka look bad. Like, I'm sure they must low-key hate on him just a little, you know. Oda's like that top student who always does his homework on time, willing to do any task the teacher says. Like, what a guy, man. And I'm not trying to say Togashi's lazy or anything like that. But on the other hand, I would say that Togashi is that guy in the workplace who could get away with murder, you know. Turns up late, kind of does what he wants. But because he's so cool and charming, because he's been there such a long time and he's cool with management and this person, that person, he has that clout. He can do what he wants, and like, he's cool. People love him for Yu Yu Hakusho and that. So he can kind of take major liberties where others can't, you know. But yeah, what I'm saying there about Togashi isn't factual. That's just my little analogy of how things seem to be playing out. Anyways, look, let's take a quick look at the hiatus charts and compare One Piece's hiatus chart to Hunter x Hunter's hiatus chart. So wow, clearly the chart on top is One Piece and the one below is Hunter x Hunter. So it's just kind of sad to see Hunter's hiatuses, and when you see it like this compared to One Piece, it's kind of crazy. If you follow One Piece, you know that the community be complaining about Oda's breaks sometimes. Like, oh, Oda needs his breaks, he needs his breaks and shit. But yo, he ain't taking no breaks like Togashi. Like, the hiatus thing is just ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's pathetic. And again, like, One Piece is kind of a different breed of manga because not everybody's a beast like Eiichiro Oda. You know what I mean? Now, you may have noticed that these charts are kind of old. So look, the One Piece one stops at 2021, and it looks like the Hunter one stops at 2019, but no, it stops at 2021 too. These are all absences from 2019 to 2021. It just wasn't in the magazine. It's hard to look at. It really is. And now we take a look at this. Guys, if you just type in Hunter x Hunter hiatus into Google, there's an official dedicated website to these hiatuses, and here it is in all its glory. So as we can see, the blue squares means it was an appearance in Shonen Jump magazine, and a red means hiatus. So it's just littered with reds, and right at the top we see like the recent run with the blue squares, but it's just kind of sad, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and even again, thinking back on what Togashi had to say at the end of Yu Yu Hakusho, like, he didn't want to make professional manga anymore, like, it's so stressful, like, it's crazy he even started Hunter x Hunter. Like, what was he thinking? Like, look, it started off alright in 98, you know, started off alright. 99, ooh, couple hiatuses. Again in 2000, like, it's already, look, it didn't even start off strong. Again, look back at the One Piece chart. Look back at the One Piece chart. See what I'm saying? And then look, boom, 2006, Jesus Christ, he appeared for a month. And then 2007, he was nearly gone the whole time. And then, yeah, just look, man. And this website has some more data. As you can see, the longest hiatus was 184 issues of Shonen Jump missed. So, and you know, you look at a chart like this, and your first thought is, why is Togashi still working there? Why hasn't he been fired? This is supposed to be a weekly publication. Like, you know, if things is looking sour, why not fire him like so many other people get fired from Shonen Jump? And well, the reason for that is, of course, money. So similarly to wrestlers, mangaka, hear me out. A wrestler can be super unprofessional, you know, they can be lazy, they can be hard to work with, all these type of things. However, if they're so popular to the point where fans really want to see them more than anyone else, you know, it creates an environment where they can kind of do what they want, you know. And the reason that their employer would keep them is because they bring in so much money. They're such a big draw, you know. Of course, I'm not saying Togashi doesn't produce manga quicker because of arrogance. No, that's not what I'm saying. We've already established his health plays a huge part in his ability to make manga. But Hunter x Hunter is such a big draw for Shonen Jump, they'd rather keep Togashi on their books rather than let him go. And of course, like I was saying, he ain't no new cat. He's been there for years. So he has that status where he can, you know, not really get fired as easily as some of the young guns in Shonen Jump. However, because the series can go on break for nearly 4 years, this gives Togashi an unfair advantage to take more time and care with his story, where others are pressured with the tight deadlines, potential negative reader polls, and poor sales looming over their head. Togashi gets seemingly all the time in the world to make Hunter x Hunter. Again, compare it to One Piece. Look at what One Piece has done with its story, more or less week by week. Oda hasn't had time to plan and do this and that for months. Obviously Togashi's ill, so he's not as black and white as that, but yeah, you see the point I'm trying to make, right? So with all that being said, this is why Togashi's stubbornness kind of makes us suffer. Like, bro was struggling to keep up with the grueling work schedule of a mangaka in Yu Yu Hakusho days, like early 90s. Like, I can definitely relate and understand an artist's perspective in wanting to produce their own work without help from others. However, Togashi simply can't do this. The one thing he needs to do to make manga, he physically can't do. He can't sit at a desk for a prolonged period of time like others can. And this is crucial for making manga. It's why some people with disabilities can't work in certain fields. Like, look at some of those author comments. He's saying that he can't even use the bathroom properly. Like, it's kind of sad. And the hiatuses and deterioration of his health has lasted way longer than it should have before something major happening, you know? You're telling me only now, in 2023, is he warming up to the idea of getting more help? Like, what about 10 years ago? You know what I mean? So it's like, It's great that in recent times Togashi has said, you know, he's trying to figure things out, he's trying to, you know, make some type of a schedule to get Hunter finished, but like, yeah, kind of too little too late, bro. Kind of, because this could have been done a long time ago. Again, I understand that people say it's his work, let him do what he wants with it, but again, this is the same man that called himself selfish, the same man that, you know, wants to write manga for himself and all these type of things and yada yada yada. So yeah, big grey area here, big grey area. I understand it's not as simple as Togashi being appointed an artist and Togashi directing them. They may not like each other, they may clash, things probably come to Togashi as he's drawing, etc. Like, mangaka duos aren't very common and they can work very differently in terms of how much involvement each person has. Just look at how many times the duo in Bakuman changed up how they made manga. Sometimes the writer would storyboard, sometimes the artist found it easier to storyboard himself, and of course some people would be easier to work with than others. Clearly Togashi ain't one of those people. As previously stated, the recent hiatus of Hunter x Hunter lasted for nearly 4 years. So it's kind of hard to say if Togashi's money from his royalties or money from his wife and whatever side hustle he has was enough to carry him and his wife over that period. Most likely they were absolutely fine and have no financial worries. So it is bittersweet we're all in this position. We have a man that wants to make manga but physically can't to an acceptable level of normalcy. Although his poor health and stubbornness has contributed to all the hiatuses, making manga is a super strenuous job. Not everyone is like Oda, and what may seem like an easy task for others might take double the amount of energy for someone else. Let's not forget about the late great Kentaro Miura. Miura had some very depressing words in his author comments, overworking himself on Berserk to the point it had a major negative effect on his life. In the time he started taking long hiatuses, I'm sure he started to enjoy life again. I believe he even got married. Like, it's unfortunate, but the price to produce these works is often destructively high. The creatives who give us these stories have their life consumed by the work, and it is of course unfair for us to demand more of them. And even if we do demand more of them, it's not like they'd actually be able to do so. After all, we're only human, we have limitations. Overwork can kill, and not enough rest can hinder the product, etc, etc. So as a Berserk fan, I was fine with the hiatuses for those reasons. The main difference between Hunter x Hunter and Berserk is that Kentaro Miura was working so hard on Berserk it was killing him, changing his life. He had no time for himself like most mangaka, but Miura would spend a lot of time drawing some of the most beautiful art in manga. Like, he would lock himself in his room and just be drawing. With Togashi, he wants to draw but he physically can't. That's the difference. It's like Miura started the hiatuses out of selfishness for himself to give himself a better life while still writing Berserk. Togashi, on the other hand, started the hiatuses because of his health. So if he was healthy, he'd be writing Hunter x Hunter. Because he's not, he isn't writing Hunter x Hunter to the degree of some type of regular publication, you know, weekly like it's supposed to be. So that's where my gripe is, guys. Togashi cannot write Hunter x Hunter properly. He can't draw it properly, so he should seek as much help as he can get. With all due respect, I doubt it's gonna finish anytime soon if he doesn't get the correct help. No one's getting any younger out here as well, and I feel like Kentaro Miura passing defo gave Togashi a second wind to think, you know what, I need to kind of finish this. Another quote from an interview. Still, that aside, I need to finish writing Hunter x Hunter. It has come to a point where either the story concludes first or I die before that happens. Lol. So yeah, take from that what you will. Furthermore, a manga's art and storytelling are one and the same as the mangaka. Berserk being continued by Koji Mori and Studio Gaga is obviously not the same Berserk that Miura would have done. Moreover, I don't think there's a nice way to say this, but Togashi's art, come on, man, it's not the most desirable art. And yes, I know he's an amazing artist. I've seen the level of detail he puts in for certain panels, but he is often criticized for leaving lots of blank backgrounds, having an overall very simple character design. Art is of course subjective, but there's no denying that there are manga that look a lot more polished than Hunter x Hunter. Like, just imagine if Yusuke Murata of One Punch Man was doing Hunter x Hunter and we were getting consistent weekly chapters. Of course it will never be as simple as that though, things aren't black and white, and I hope this video has been able to help you sympathize with Togashi to an extent, but realize he is a complex individual who be stubborn as fuck. And finally, we should be getting more of a consistent release schedule for Hunter x Hunter very soon. In my opinion, we easily should have got this sooner. But better late than never, man. I wish Togashi good health and many thanks for his newfound willingness to complete the series. He is the technical genius that gave the world Yu Yu Hakusho and is continuing to give us Hunter x Hunter. I've been Nagiri Suiyabu, thank you so much for watching this video. Please leave a like or comment on your opinion on this subject matter, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. I'll see you guys all again very soon. Peace.